you're not really going to win the next database battle by delivering a SQL product that's 20% faster than your previous SQL product, okay? Or delivering a BI tool that's 20% faster than your previous generation. The thing that's happening here is convergence. People are looking at storing an incredible variety of data, and some of that data, the volumes ramp up exponentially fast. Machine exhaust, it's trivial to collect. Okay? It's not necessarily of the same value per byte as your transactional data, but nonetheless, you have this heterogeneity of data, and you use it for a very wide range of purposes. And in terms of analysis, you're creating these composite workflows where at different points in the workflow you're doing everything from simple data loading to SQL to interactive exploration to predictive analytics, training, scoring, the whole work. And you're looking to be able to do this kind of work without the impedance mismatch of moving your data across different cycles. Okay? And if you look at several of the speakers, they had a picture that looked pretty much like this. From the user's point of view, a place where you can keep this wide variety of data, don't necessarily make the assumption that users will put all their data into one place that you provide. They'll also want federated access to data that's in other places which they have ring-fenced for a variety of reasons. Maybe because it's on-prem data that they want to keep on-prem and combine with other data that's on the cloud. Maybe it's because it's data in a system that can't be migrated easily for reasons like privacy and auditing or federation for reports. That's that logically is one thing. Second, they're going to want to build analytic tools for everything. SQL, backend interactive, stream processing, business intelligence, all the BI tools you hear about, machine learning, on and on, right? And one of the things I conjecture is, over the next few years, we're going to see a technology convergence as well. If you're going to see this kind of ecosystem, people can't afford the overhead of building each of these analytic stacks as a standalone site. And again, I think you're already seeing some signs of that, right? Systems like HDFS, think of them as a starting point for a scalable store that supports a diversity of data. Then you think about appropriate formats and ways of shredding higher level abstractions like tables into these lower level files. In terms of computation, resource managers like Yarn, everyone sees the opportunity to leverage this layer without necessarily reducing everything to a translation of the programming to MapReduce. You're going to see lots of these analytic stacks directly layering on top of Yarn by passing the MapReduce layer. Right? These are trends that I see happening. And not only do you want all this, some of the capabilities you get in the enterprise today, controlled, sharing, collaboration, you'll want to carry all of that over into this new world. Okay, that's the world view. Next, let me say a couple of things about where Microsoft is headed with regards to this, and I'll be very brief. There are a couple of products out there. I encourage you to go look at the site for more details. Polybase is a Hawk-like product where essentially you can run SQL queries over a combination of data in a massively parallel traditional relational system and data in HDFS, okay, without necessarily first importing the data from HDFS into the parallel data warehouse. Power BI, there's a suite of tools, right, aimed at interactive discovery and exploration. So if you, all of these, by the way, allow you to use Excel as the endpoint, but this is not your grandfather's Excel, right? This is Excel with extensions, which is what I'm talking about. Okay? That lets you do things like roll up, drill down, that's part of it. Power Query lets you discover other data sources, a Twitter feed that you have access to perhaps, right? And be able to query that directly from the Power Star tools in your Excel endpoint. And Power View is the visualization component of the suite. So net-net, all of this integrated with your SQL endpoint, which in turn now runs over the traditional SQL backend and Hadoop. That's sort of the picture that's coming together. Hadoop. This is something where we have jumped in with both feet, and for those of you who haven't tracked Microsoft lately, we are embracing Apache wholeheartedly. HT Insight is our AMR-like Hadoop on Azure cloud service. And in terms of how we are engaging with Apache, some of the things that Alan mentioned, we are working with Hortonworks on, specifically the auth file improvements and the vectorization work. And obviously all of that work is headed for Apache open sourcing. We've also done a fair bit of work on making Yarn better in the area of adding support for checkpointing and preemption that leverages the checkpointing. All of that has actually been committed already. And lastly, there is a project that we've been working on for the past year, which we are getting pretty close to open sourcing. In anticipation of this, next generation of suite and application tool development on top of Yarn, we thought about how to make that easier. Yarn gives you resource management for the containers that you get. Making them easier to program will go a long way in letting you build these system silos with less repeated work. Okay, and this is just, I'm not going to say anything more. We really are committing stuff. With that, let me stop here. And, now I go back to the very first slide. This marks the end of the first phase of this panel. Next, we segue into the one where we actually talk about some of these questions. So the questions are, why is SQL on Hadoop attracting so much attention now? Well, my own take is, now that you're transitioning to the point where you actually need to make money, you look at the guys who are willing to pay money. And those are the traditional enterprises with deep pockets. And the first question they ask is, well, all my guys know SQL. What can you do for me? I would love to see what folks here think about this. Anyone want to comment on why SQL is on Hadoop is heating up at this point in time?
I'd like to quickly summarize.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd like to quickly summarize our response why we did so. We said so 5 years ago when we actually blended SQL and MapReduce in the Astra database and how we evolved the Astra database. And it was pretty clear to us then that if there has to be wide adoption of the new paradigm with MapReduce, there has to be an interface which is an evolution of what people are trained to do with what people are used to. That doesn't mean that MapReduce is not going to unlock and enable a new way of analyzing the data. It just means that you have to create a path for adoption, and that's why SQL on Hadoop, in my opinion, is now attracting so much attention.
Justin, you want to comment?
Sure. So I'd say, as you look at where Hadoop started, it started around batch processing. And as more data came into the scalable system, people started wanting to do more with it. The higher level languages opened up not just developers, but through Hive you could get SQL users to instruct things. Through Pig you can go and get a higher level language that you can program against that. The natural extension as more data is available to me that I want to go and do more things with that. And this was the first foray into the beyond batch. And so people had more needs to go into the real-time interaction. SQL and the traditional database space has historically been the answer for how I interact with my data set. And that's been quite exciting. So you look into the ways people interact with systems in data today, you'll typically look at the most common ways are through SQL, through an analytics engine such as like a SAS or Revolution Analytics. And with Google, people are now getting more and more familiar with just free-form search against the data as well.
So you made a great point there. Beyond the fact that there are so many people who are familiar with SQL, there are so many tools that are integrated with SQL as the endpoint.
The perspective which I bring in here is that when Hadoop started, everyone was talking about unstructured data. Everyone said we need to do unstructured analytics, understand what the unstructured data is. And what was effectively happening was you were hiding the complexity of the structure of the data in code. So people were writing code and saying that this is what my data looks like. Why? Because I know it. Soon the enterprises started realizing that at the end of the day, most of the analytics is happening on structured data. Unless you understand what the data is, you cannot make sense out of it. And the paradigm that is shifting backwards is defining the structure of what you're going to analyze upfront and then using the SQL as your favorite tool